Okay, welcome back to Avenue Obscura, and today I have a very, very special guest, Shar Mayer, who is a haunter and who's been in the industry for over 40 years, correct?
That's correct. Almost 45 years now I've been
Wow,
haunting.
like a mainstay in the SoCal haunt scene, and probably in other parts of the country too, right?
Yeah, I started in New York. I did about 20 years or so there, came here, and as soon as I came here, I started off by working at Knott Scary Farm.
See, that's the guy. And I wrote down a couple of your things that you've done. So I have done. You've done Knots, you've done Sinister Point, you've done, and that's kind of like some of your more traditional ones. And then you've done like some of your haunted plays like Delusion, and then you've done some of the extreme side stuff too. So you have like 17th Door, you've done Blackout, you've done, and those are actually all haunts that I've been to. So you've probably been scaring me for probably about 20 years.
I
You may
hope
not have
so.
even known it.
I hope so. I mean, I started as a home haunter, how most haunters start, and
Wow.
my friend's mom said, "Hey, we're gonna make a little haunted house." So they did, and I went there, and oh my goodness, that was it. Oh, and the next year she did it, and we did it for I think a weekend. First one was one day, the second one was like one weekend or two weekends. And we did it a couple of years, and like that, I loved Halloween anyway, and it was like perfect for me. And then as soon as I was able to get into a professional haunt, and the only thing different between a home haunt and a professional haunt, home haunts are also professional, but when they give you a paycheck at the end, you're like, oh, I got paid to do this. This is great. And then I grew up. I was in it before there was an industry, but I grew up in the haunt industry, and I've seen the changes. And just starting in when I was younger, just working at small mazes and just seeing it bloom. I worked at the Haunted Hayride also on the East Coast, out on Long Island, and that was really fun. I did that for 3 years, and then it's like I like the idea of staying with the company. And I did another one for a couple of years. When I came over to the West Coast, I wanted to work at Knott's, because of the sliders. I mean, you heard about it. This is just when the internet was starting, so I really didn't know much about it, but I wanted it. And they
Yeah.
went and they hired me, and I worked 2 years in a maze called the Underground. It was great. And then I made it onto Ghost Town Streets, and I worked 10 years on Ghost Town Streets, and then I worked 3 years in Carnival. And then I also worked for Knott's at the pre-scare dinner at the hotel, first the regular one, then we did the hotel shows. And then me and my partner, and then we also did the off-property promotions, which means he drove the hearse, and we would go to different events and schools, and we would promote Knott's, and we would monster around on different campuses and stuff. And that was really fun. I liked doing that. It also gave us about 2 extra months of haunting, which is like, every little bit you can get more is great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like November 1st, I swear, is like every Halloween fan's like least favorite day of the year,
Yeah,
right?
I think we have a show. I have a show November 1st. I think I might have another show on a different show on the second. Still
Oh, that's
finding
cool.
out.
So yeah, this year Halloween's on a Saturday. So
I know.
Sunday, you're still gonna get some things going on a Sunday.
Yeah, well, I'm working at 17th Door right now, and it's completely sold out because they're the only haunt in California that's open. That's an indoor haunt.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's every week. As soon as they only put the tickets on for the week. And as soon as it goes up, they sell out right away. And they sell. You can't buy one ticket. You got to buy a group. So
Right.
it's with people in your group. It's part of
Right.
the safety measures.
Right. Right. And so your tickets this weekend, I'm sure, are sold out. And you haven't sold your next weekend's tickets yet, so there's
Yeah,
still
next week hasn't gone on sale yet.
okay.
I'm pretty sure that they sell out like they've been selling it. We have a complete sellout for the year. We've only had that one other time, and that was our first year. We didn't sell it the first weekend. By like the second weekend, we sold the rest of the run, and we sell out like a lot of days. But we haven't had complete sellouts like this season. Was every day, every ticket was taken.
People are craving their Halloween experiences
Oh yeah.
because there's less. There's been some really creative stuff, but there's definitely been less than
Also, think about what we're doing, right? We're giving you some fear and some terror that you are controlling. And, that's something everyone, even if you're not into Halloween, that's something that everyone wants, right now.
yeah,
With what's
especially this
going
year.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And then funny, that's the funny story of kind of how you and I met is obviously I put up a review on that a couple weeks ago, and and that video did really well, and I got tons of questions. It's just mostly from just people who wanted to go, and they were like, "What was this like?" Or they've been before, and was it like this still, or what do you do with this? And then you started jumping in and answering some questions and helping me out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, I want people to know, like, safety wise a lot. And then, how much I'm going to tell them about the storyline is going to be very limited.
Exactly.
But a little bit of here and there, like, just to help them get through. And because I work right now in the very first position, and it's like, we get people like can't even get past the first position and they're already done. They're mercing out. They've built it up so much in their head. And I really do want, as much as we like that, I really do want them to get into the maze and to see some of the things that we have for you to try and test yourself. And having the mercy pendants is good, which lets you, it prevents you from getting shocks and also bugs. And it's 91% effective. So it's usually working. And also, if you don't like what's going on in a room, like say you have a fear of snakes and you walk into a room and there's a giant snake in it, you say mercy, and they let you right out the room. You can go home if you want, but you can just skip the room.
Right.
And then you can join up with your group and continue on. And I think that really gives the guests, oh, I'm going to test myself. And some people only make it a short way. A lot of people can make it all the way to the end. And it's cool hearing people when they come out, how happy they are, how they're all high-fiving, they made it. And then they meet up with their friends sometimes that bailed out and like, dude, you should have stayed in. It was so cool.
Yeah, and that it is. It's like an accomplishment when you get out of there.
Absolutely.
But I love the fact that with you guys, you can mercy out of just one room. You can just go to the next room. And that way you don't have to completely leave the event. If you know.
Right. I like that. So like you mentioned Blackout. So I work for Blackout, and they are very strict. If you want out, you say the safety word. You have to actually say it 3 times before they say, all right, you're done. And then you're just done, and you can't go back in.
Right.
But the Blackout is on another level than what the 17th door is.
For sure. I did Blackout in 2013, and it was definitely more, it's one of those things where you almost don't call it like a haunt necessarily. It's more of a, simulated, I wouldn't say torture by any means, but necessarily. Well, maybe some years, I'm not sure.
Maybe.
The year that I did wasn't really torturous, but it was like almost like, I don't necessarily want to say abuse, but in a way it is like they kind of verbally and abuse you and kind of like maybe try to. I think it really attests your limits, right? What can you mentally handle?
Right.
Handle, and I don't want to get too much into spoilers. Is Blackout still going, by the way?
I think they did their last show last year in New York, but Josh always has things going on, so who knows? You never know.
Yeah, hopefully they come back, and I won't get too spoilery, but I'm sure people can probably find spoiler reviews out there. But yeah, they kind of want to push you to your limits and really psychologically mess with you. I think that was really the main point of it. There was a tiny bit of physicality, not too much when I went, anyways. But yeah, it was definitely a very unique experience, and it's been interesting to see, I think, how haunting has evolved from your standard Halloween horror nights and Not Scary Farm to these more extreme because I think at some point the haunts were really good, and then I think they started to get a little bit stale, and I think maybe people were kind of like, okay, well, we did Knott's last year and we come this year, and maybe there's 1 or 2 new mazes, and but overall the experience is fairly similar. But I noticed in this last decade, the 2010s, is really where Knott started to step it up a little bit. They introduced, different experiences like Trapped and the Skeleton Key rooms, stuff to really enhance and not just make straight mazes. And then, of course, with the things like the 17th Door and Blackout and other extreme events.
Yeah, I don't see it as like competitions between groups or between haunts, because as soon as somebody does something really good, the next group will step it up, and it'll be like constantly, not really competition, but it'll make everyone better. And that's why I love to hear what people are doing, what different groups are doing, what different everyone's doing. I mean, I don't get to see much because I'm working all the time,
Sure.
but like we get to go to Universal because they start a little earlier than us. So always like the first Sunday of the year, we go to Universal and we just have a great time. I can also go to an extreme haunt and have a fantastic time, but that's me.
Yeah.
Extreme haunts, first of all, they're not for kids. I wouldn't recommend extreme haunts for anyone under 18. Different haunts have different levels of where you are, but you know, every person's different. My daughter, I took her to the haunted hayride that I was working at when she was 3, and that was good. My mother was holding her, and I was the storyteller on it, so she was fine. She's seen me put on monster makeup like all the time. It's no big deal because she grew up in that. But then, you know, by the time we moved out to California and was working at Knott's, she wasn't ready till she was like in her early teens, mid-teens. And even that, I took her backstage. She met the monsters. So she was like comfortable, you know, with what's going on. And then her and her friends went through and she was scared. You know, it was really scary. And even though like some of the monsters would scare her and go, "Hi, Rosie," you know, and, you know, that would drop down her fear, but she was scared. She had a fun time and she still goes there. She loves going, but she also does extreme haunts. So I don't think that it's an and or kind of situation. Some people like both. And I also like another thing that's these theatrical haunts, and I've worked in them too, where you're doing a spooky play or some sort of show that's more theatrically involved than like a straight just a haunt or a haunted maze or something. Right. So that's another thing. And I've done that also.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm one of those people that I enjoy it all, and I like variety. So yeah, for you know my teens and 20s, I was used to the only game in town was Knott's or Universal, and then some of these other things started popping up. So it was kind of a natural evolution for me, and I enjoy it. And you know, and I know that most extreme haunts, if you feel threatened or you're not comfortable, you can have a safe word and get out of there. So that's always comforting to know. But I would have to say, probably my favorite type of haunt is the theatrical haunt. And the first year that I got introduced to that was in 2012, and that was Delusion, which you have worked at before, right?
2012 was my favorite Delusion. I actually, my friend Frank was the grave digger, the very first person.
Yeah, right in the beginning.
Yeah. So I went to see him, and as soon as you pass him, you walk up a little walkway, and then somebody calls to you from the second-story window, and you look up, and they fall out the window. Mm-hmm. And right then and there, I was like, I was floored. And this is something my husband actually went to with me. And because he doesn't like haunted houses, but this because my friend Frank told me he could do this. He did it. And I just turned to him and I said, "I want to quit everything and I want to work here." I mean, that's how quick my whole view changed of what's happening. It was just something completely different. And wow, what a great experience I had. I went back again. And then the next year, I think it was 2 years later. Yeah, 2 years later, I did the Delusion Lies Within show, and I was performing in that. And what a great experience! I absolutely loved it. Were you able to go to that year's?
I missed Lies Within. I went to Blood Right. That was the 2012. That was my first year that I found it, and I loved the mix of the interactivity with the audience members. They actually got to be a part of it, but yet the theatrical part of it. So it was like an interactive play. I mean, and I know that's what I did. And then I went to the Blue Blade, which was 2 years ago, I believe.
Yes, 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I went to Blood Right and Blue Blade. Those are my 2 Delusion years. And I hope they, I know they didn't have anything this year, for obvious reasons, I'm sure. But I know they have skipped years too, where they haven't had anything.
No, this was the first one. Well, when they did Blue Blade, they switched their form from horror to science fiction.
Right.
But they've done every year, and then this was John Braver just put out an email that said, or a message, whatever, that said that they'll be back. So we'll see.
Good.
We'll see. The thing that is amazing about that is he's a stunt coordinator for films. So, I mean, where are you going to see somebody drop out of a window or crawl up a wall? I mean, their effects were just mind blowing, and they were physical effects that these actors that he trained were doing. I wasn't doing anything like that. I had a different scene, of course, but just amazing, like, you know, what they were doing, and using a show and using horror and making a real adventure. And the thing that's cool about Delusion is you can go back 3-4 times and have completely different experiences. Yep. Because this side, one of the room that I worked was like a side room. So if you get pulled off into the side room, you have one experience. If you're in this room, you have a different experience. And there's constantly that, and people get taken away from the group and have their own personal experience.
I know.
So,
I know. That's what
really
I mean.
Cool.
Yeah, over the years, I think Delusion has been definitely one of my favorites, and I'm definitely excited to get back to it next year. So that's really, really awesome. Yeah, but the theatrical haunt is really, really, really fun. I know you said that, and I've never been, but Zombie Joe's Underground, that's a little more theatrical too, right?
Yeah, well, Zombie Joe's is a different. I've never performed there, although, you know, he's asked me. It's just I haven't gotten to that one yet. So they have theatricals, they have haunted mazes, they have all different stuff, but you never know what you get. And it's always going to be fun and weird and like out of this world, and you can't even explain some of the shows. And the thing is, it's in downtown LA. The shows change really rapidly. So if you hear, oh, there was a great show at Zombie Joe's, you got to go right away, because 3-4 weeks later, there's a different show. So he's constantly rotating his shows. Even like shows that he has that are regular shows that come back every couple of months, they're always different.
Yeah, so, he actually goes throughout the year.
Yeah, you should definitely go. I mean, and then don't think the show you saw was a typical Zombie Joe show, because he's always doing different stuff, and I love that about him. Yeah. And you can't predict what's going to happen, but the only thing you can know is it's unpredictable.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about this current era of haunts that we are in right now. Aside from this year, which we obviously got sidetracked a lot, but you know, even though there was some really good ones that did come out this year, we're just in this era of tons of variety and tons of different opportunities and even year-round stuff, right? I mean, Sinister Point that I mentioned, that I think you said you had worked at before, they were doing things throughout the year at one point. I'm not sure if they have planned to continue that later on, to maybe starting next year, but like there's Christmas haunts, there's St. Patrick's haunts, there's all kinds of crazy things nowadays. And I think as a haunt fan, that's just so cool that, you know, this year notwithstanding, you have so much variety that you can do.
Yeah, this year, well, you know, with every problem comes people thinking things outside the box, and I don't think we would have had any of these drive-up haunts if it wasn't for COVID. So now we have all these different types of drive-through and drive-up different things, besides the drive-in movies, which are just, you know, kickbacks to drive-in movies. But these other things that people are doing, staying in the car. And something else, which I've seen before this year, but I'm starting to see again, is the haunt car wash, or the zombie car washes, which are really, really cool. I don't know if I'd want to work in one, but maybe get my car cleaned.
Yes, I'm actually going to be going to that next week. So.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to be checking that out. So, I'll say I'm really impressed. And it's funny though, because when all this first happened, I first thought, okay, that's it. You know, we're not going to have any Halloween events this year. It's over. You know, we'll just have to wait till next year. And then I thought to myself, I bet you the community's going to come up and they're going to start getting some innovative stuff, and there's going to be something. And it really exceeded my expectations in the sense that there was way more than I thought it was going to be. And a lot of it has been really good. And I hope they actually keep some of the drive-through things next year.
I think, yeah, maybe expand on what we got. Mm-hmm. One of the things that 17th Door did, which I am very happy they did, because I'm locked in. I can't go out because of my age and health issues.
Yeah.
Is they found a way for me to haunt this year, and they set up a virtual haunt character for me, and I've been doing that. So I am here in my room with a you know, a different background, of course, in my makeup and my costume, which I do myself. And they hooked me up via Zoom, and I get to work my magic there. And
And
now,
that's live. You're doing it live. It's not pre.
yeah, I am doing live. Part of my bit that I'm doing is if you know, we only have one more week, so part of my bit that I was doing was I was pretending I was a recording. And then after people just ignore me, because that's what everyone does with recordings of safety videos, I'll pick people out and call them out, and then they'll get a little freaked out that wait a minute, you see me? And then I have some, you know, I have a bit of dialogue that I do with them, and so I play like a little trick on them, and I have another trick, and give them the creepy stuff. And so I take them on like a little journey. I make them laugh a little bit. I make them get scared and creeped out, and give them a little safety warning at the same time. Try to help them get through some of the rooms. But the idea of a virtual character, I mean, I'm literally sitting here. I'm not a recording. I'm interacting with guests that are about to enter the maze, and I'm doing a character. I'm setting them up, and I'm doing haunting. So I think it's fantastic that they were able to do that. And I have two of the guys that are doing it with me now from our OG haunters. You know, because what's nice about 17th Door is we have all ages. We're not like other haunts where you age out. They do have a few of us that are the older folk, and you know, they work around. Like I have a back injury, so they always make sure I'm comfortable and I'm able to sit down when I need to sit down. And what a great way to work at a place where somebody's like really caring about how you're feeling and how you're doing, and helping you to do your job, and you know, anything that they can do, they're there. And I love that. Exactly. I do another show that I just started working with, which is Black Mass, and they're an in-person extreme haunt that's really cool, and I've been to a couple of them, and I really like that. A really fun place to go, and it's here somewhere in Orange County. It has secret locations.
Yeah.
So they're doing also, so they were doing online regular stuff, and then they just switched to an online show, and I went to it once, and I loved it. And then they asked me to participate, and I'm in their cast. I did a show for them just before we stopped to start doing, you know, our regular haunt season. And then looking forward to getting back to working with them in November. And then the other one that I've done shows in person with also is hurting.com or haunting. No. And they have shows too that are extreme experiences that are really fun. And I've gone to one of them as a guest, and it really is intense. I prefer just myself. I like working in the show. So I've done a couple of shows with them, and hopefully also one of the things I'm hoping to do in the future too, talking about maybe seeing what we could do again with using the online forum, because it looks like we're going to be in a couple more months before we're all going to be able to get out and do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I know with Black Mass, it's funny. I've right before, I think the lockdowns, maybe in February, I had like, they make you apply to be able to go in there, right? And Abby fill out this little application, and I had done that, and I was planning, because they were doing, and I'm not sure if they're still doing this, but they were doing like a holiday theme. But they were gonna, from what I understand, they were gonna do like a show for most of the major holidays. They had they were gonna have an Easter one. They were gonna have a, you know.
Yeah, every holiday you can think of, they're writing shows for.
Yeah, I think that was the original plan, and I was going to start getting into that. And then I got approved, and I started getting emails, and I was just about getting ready in the beginning of March to maybe try to book some. And then that's when we started hearing more and more about stuff. So I thought, well, maybe I'll hold off. And then when the lockdowns, I was like, well, okay, obviously so many things got canceled.
Yeah, that was actually my last. I mean, I got locked down, and I was supposed to go see them that week. So I missed out on that, and I was really bummed out. But, you know, I didn't think it was going to be this long. I thought we were going to get back a lot sooner, but
I know.
I know. So I was like, I could do this. It's all right. You know, it's no big deal. And so I know the guys that produced that too, and what an amazing team they have. Oh, my goodness. Great haunters and great writers, and you know, they have they have ideas that are going to be coming up. So they're one of those ones that are just getting started, I think last year. And yeah, Shoot for the Moon, they're going to take off, and it's going to be one of those tickets that's going to be hard to get. But meanwhile, working online. I mean, they did start one. I don't know if they're going forward with it, but they were working on one that was following all the safety protocols and trying to do a one guest and I think limited amount of cast. One of the things that's different about them is they do this you're the victim kind of thing in a show that happens, and it's one-on-one. So it's pretty fun. Just going by yourself into something, just getting yourself ready to do something like that. I mean, I've done this for years, and you know, the idea of them telling me, park here, leave your car locked up and meet at the train track and just wait there. Somebody will come pick you up. I'm standing there. My heart is like pumping a million miles an hour. And I'm like, how am I this scared from just standing and waiting? But you know, that's your mind, and the anticipation just riles you up, you know? And let me go, everyone gets me. If I'm in the mindset that I'm going through a haunted house, I can go through anything and the monsters will get me and I'll scream, and it's honest, true fear. But if I'm working at a haunt and I'm busy and I'm like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and something, if somebody tries, it scares me, that usually doesn't work. I have to be like ready for it. Like when we go to Universal, it's like, yeah, just take me into the maze and scare me, and everyone does. And they turn the corner, like even like little these pop scares, and sometimes the people I'm with are like, really, that scared you? It's like, yeah, that really did scare me. I love being scared. I'm both sides of the coin. I love to scare and I love being scared. And sometimes haunt actors get jaded and they can't get scared anymore. And I'm always like, you just gotta let your guard down and let it happen, because you're missing a lot of the experience, you know. And to become a better performer, you want to see it from both ends. So you've got to let that experience, you know, come to you and wash over you, so that you can take your performances up, and what affects you may not affect the next person, but you can find it in yourself where it's coming from, and you can work from there.
Exactly. Absolutely. And I think I've never worked in a haunt. I think I remember in my 20s thinking like, oh, how fun would that be? But you know, life happens, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that I have to work my regular job and everything. But
well, I want to tell you, it is really fun to work in a haunted house. As much fun as it is going through, we get like maybe 2 or 3 times as much of that adrenaline rush as you do. But it's a lot of work. It's very physical. It's very mental. And like you said, a lot of people have school or jobs, so you have to balance that with your haunt life, be able to bring your performance to a certain level, and having school or work, and that it really does take a toll on you. It's also the dangers that we face with the crazy guests sometimes that are out of control, especially if they serve alcohol. That is always a danger for us. And then just, you know, finding that feeling that's still in you, that you still want to do it. I mean, some people just do it for a year, which is great. That's fine. And some people do it like 10 years, and then people like do it 9 years, and they're like, next year's my last year. Why? I don't know. I think I'm done. What does that feel like? It still hasn't happened. I've cut down. You know, when I worked at Knott's, it was, you know, every day of the month and the 2 months before. So it was like 3 months straight without maybe just on the weekends, the first 2 months. So, but it was like, that was my full-time job then. But now
3 o'clock in the morning, probably.
Yeah, 3, 4 o'clock, depends. Yeah. When I was working at the pre-scare dinner, we would start, I think, like around 3 o'clock. So our night started earlier, so we got to leave earlier, which worked out better for me being an old person. But when I started there, I didn't get home till like 4:35 in the morning. And then it was hard. My daughter was young then. It was really hard. And my husband, it usually fell on him to get her off to school, because, like by the time you're towards the end of October, like in the beginning, I could deal with it. But towards the end, it's like, it's physically and mentally hard to do. But if you have that you want to scare people, and you know, you're feeling that, I always encourage people to give it a shot, because once you feel it, it's really cool. It's very addicting, I guess. You know, that adrenaline rush.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe one of these years, I'll have to try it out on a weekend haunt kind of a thing,
Yeah,
or
sure.
do 9 to 5, during the day, and then go for it. But
Well,
yeah, it's always been
I always tell people to set up a home haunt, and you'll know what it's like. Just decorate
yeah.
your house, set up a couple of cardboard box walls, and you'll be scaring the neighbor children, and you'll become notorious in your neighborhood, and you'll understand
Everybody
the
either loves
feeling
you
of
or
what it
hates
is
you,
to
right?
haunt.
Yeah, I know. I think at one point I had gotten to that, as we were talking a little bit earlier, where where you get unfazed by things. I think I had gotten to that point at one point, just
Oh,
going to
really?
events every year, not working in them, but going to them. And so I think, like I said, in these last 10 years, when we've had all these different kinds of experiences, I think that's really revitalized me. And now I enjoy going to the regulars and then going to the more extreme stuff and then going to the theatrical stuff. I love that. I just think that's really, really great.
What's really cool is since doing the movie Haunters, I've gotten in touch with people all over the country and even all over the world that I talk to other haunters, mostly haunters, sometimes haunt fans, but mostly haunters. And I'm like, they want to talk to me, so I talk for a little bit, and I'm like, but now let's talk about you. I want to know about you. Tell me about your haunt. What draws you? What are you doing? And what's great is I get people from all over the states and like I said, a few other countries, and they send me pictures of them haunting and what they're doing and their haunts. And I can't go to these because I'm working.
Sure.
And it's a great way to live life vicariously, especially this year, and getting to see what else is going on, in the industry. It's pretty neat, and it doesn't matter where you're working or what level your haunt is or your show is. There's some sort of theme or string that binds us all together. And once you touch that in another person that's into the same kind of thing, it's like an instant bond. And you pick up and you can start talking like we did, like we know each other for years.
Yeah, it's
And
a camaraderie.
it's just there's something about this industry, and if you like the darker side of life, enjoy the fear of getting your body to not just laugh but scream and turns into laughter. There's something about that that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we all connect with that, and we do have we have our own little haunt families wherever we're working. I'm with a bunch of different haunt families, but then we have an extended haunt family. We can go to any haunt anywhere and meet people and talk to them. And I went to Japan last year, and I went to a haunted maze in